When I first moved to Canada, I found rent really expensive. Instead of paying rent, I decided to look for a van so I would see more of the province, and ended up with this 1977 GMC and quickly found there were some things that were needing fixing, repairing, rebuilding, and this was just the beginning. From replacing the back doors to repairing rust. It runs beautifully, sounds gorgeous. Look! Make it look a little bit prettier. We're here to rock and roll. Yay! Can't wait to do some road trips! But before it all turned to complete and utter poop, I did get out for a couple of little jaunty adventures with some friends. Friends who either came to visit me from New Zealand or Australia, or new friends that I'd met locally. So you can see a little bit here of the interior as it originally was. I was very excited to have something that I could bring people with me and go on road trips together. This was my dream. Little did I know it was going to get a bit rougher before it was going to get back to this dream. And then I started work on repairing the van. The first thing was the windscreen came out, and we took the high top off because that thing leaked like a sieve. There's my baby. About to get a windscreen. And the view. So as you can see here, it's propped up by 2x4s all round. There's no windscreen. Now, I was living in here at the time. I didn't have anywhere else to live. I was pretty much homeless. I had no money, and every cent I had was going to pay the dodgy backyard welder that I'd found to help me fix my van. This was September, so it was cold, it was drafty, it was starting to get cooler every night, and my bed was on the floor. This was how I was boiling water. I didn't have any pots and pans. Starting to do some rust repair was high on my priority list. As you can see, around the top of the metal where the fiberglass high top attached was in really bad condition. And unfortunately, when we did eventually reseal it, we resealed it with the wrong material, so it really never resolved after all of this work and after all of this expense. As you can see here, re-welding metal plate in so we could reattach the high top. This was a disaster. I wish I had just sealed it up. All the way around, we tried to fix it and try to make it look nice, but it never truly sealed properly. I was living in this guy's driveway. Here, I think it's done. I think I'm finished and back on the road. I'm so overjoyed not to be living for months and months and months in somebody's driveway. But yet, still more issues. Now, we're getting on now. This is probably November. I'm only just starting to get a fireplace installed. Up to this point, I have no heat, no insulation, as you can see here. It's just a bare shell of the van. I've ripped out all of the old 70s furniture. The van is a complete empty shell. It was cold, it was drafty, and I was still living in this space. I didn't have any other backup. I didn't know really anyone because I was freshly moved to Canada. I would say this was one of the most challenging times of my entire life. This van was rusty, and here, suddenly one day it rained and it poured water in, so I still had leaks. I had started rubber guarding and painting all of the stuff with rubber seal, but there were still leaks that had to be solved. After rubber sealing and working on the exterior, as you can see here, redoing some rust, cutting it out, repairing it, filling it. This was my attempt to try and make this van last a few more years As a 1977, it was pretty old. But I did do right, as I used rock wool. This is thick, non-fiberglass insulation, and it was really toasty warm, and this was one of the best decisions I made. After the rock wool, I sealed it all in with Reflectix to make a vapor barrier, and installed my first ever floor, which you can see I did very wrong because there's a straight line right across, and started to set up some semblance of usability in the space. The first thing I bought was this cabinet. I got it from a shop called Habitat for Humanity, which is a place that recycles furniture. I also met a few friends who were a godsend to help me build my house. I was living downtown in Vancouver, and this was my only heat. Wet, damp propane, because my fireplace hadn't yet started working until now. This is mid-November. We finally got the fireplace installed, and boy, did that change my life. Having a source of heat that wasn't wet propane in my empty shell, because basically the van was just a shell at this point, changed my life. I have never felt more homeless than when I was in an empty van, cold, wet, very ill, with no heat. I could even start cooking on it because I didn't really have a proper stove at that point. And you can see in my face that I was trying so hard to remain optimistic and positive when things were getting colder and colder, and I was really not set up. Starting van life, I really started it the rough way. It wasn't an easy first go, but I have managed to capture the things that remind me of the beauty. There's some sense of optimism that I've always had within me, and this van, it was gonna take care of me. She was a mystery. Her name is Mystery the Magic Van, and boy, have I learned a lot, gone on some amazing adventures. And I think my skills and my confidence in myself to be able to get through things, to be able to survive, to be able to overcome a problem or an obstacle really has helped so much. Cooking on the fireplace, so much fun. I really wish I knew where that copper kettle went. It's pretty beautiful. Life was a bit of a challenge, but at least the views were beautiful. And I was warm at night, which really, really changes everything. Being warm and not cold gives you the energy to go adventuring and go exploring and put the van in fun places to go see new sights to travel. I loved taking Mystery out to the forest.
We made it safely, just before it started snowing. It's up to my knees.
This was my very first winter. Back in New Zealand, I didn't grow up with snow.
so snowy, and now it's kind of starting to melt.
Very still up like above a certain level, like you're
I was impressed that I managed to drive anywhere in these snowy conditions. I didn't have yet replaced my tires. I had bald summer tires and only just made it to a friend's place just as winter was really kicking in and we got dumped with 2 to 3 feet of snow. This, as my first winter experience, I was quite shocked, did not know what to expect, and was a little overwhelmed with winter van life by this point. It was, and did, however, make everything very, very, very beautiful. Playing in the snow was still a complete novelty. I loved it. Yep, and then it started to melt. 10 to 12 days later of being completely snowed in, and it was time to shovel everything off. Shoveling snow, not something I had done before, so it was quite a mission. And then I ran away to the forest immediately. All I wanted to do was be parked, surrounded by the trees. Took a few beautiful pictures of my van, and I'm so glad that I have taken these memories of this beautiful space right on the ocean. The winter sun, so crisp, but so warm in its distantness, reminding you that spring will yet come again. Summer is around the corner. This van really gave me a home, gave me a way to explore the little world around me and learn to trust myself, to trust my own capacity emotionally to overcome adversity, that I could survive, that I could thrive. And I think once you've been at your lowest point, you realize how far it is, and then how far up you've come. As the weather warmed up, my little circle of travel expanded a little bit. The things I was building or putting together in the van got a little bit more adventurous, a little more creative. I let a little bit more of my personality out to shine in the sunshine, to go play, to escape the city. I painted this cabinet white and brightened up the space. This chest of drawers, from being a little shelf, became my primary storage. I was very proud of the transformation that we had gone through together. This little van had taught me a lot. It taught me to slow down, to step outside, to admire the beauty around me, the slowness, the sunsets, the ocean, little reflections, the glow, the change of color in the sky, birds. I started bird watching. And the beauty of trying to dry all of one's washing in a tiny, tiny, tiny space. I started traveling a little further afield, going to beautiful, beautiful places. In spring, there's a lot of low-lying mist, and this was one of the most calm, glass-like mornings. And having recently been back to this area, this park up is no longer accessible, so I feel very happy to have these memories.
Hey, friends!
Oh, but he's coming. You're calling her. They're coming!
I like the video of me driving in front of you. It's kind of creepy.
Do you like the sound effect? Chink, chink, chink. Like all the noise?
Emily?
British Columbia has to be one of the most gorgeous provinces in BC, and I've only really seen a couple, but nothing else compares, and I think that's because I grew up in a misty, rainforesty place, so this kind of landscape has truly stolen my soul. And I know there are those who love deserts. They love the hot, the dry, and the arid. I love the trees, the green, the lush moss, the dampness, the life, the water, the beautiful earthy smells. They're just incredible. Look, there's a troll under this bridge. Troll! Ha ha ha! BC also has the most amazing mountains. They're just incredible. Wow. Wow. I've had a copper collection for a long time now. I even put copper tiles on my ceiling in Mystery. Copper cups, this little octopus. But all things were not rosy. My engine cracked the shits. Both the head had to come off. The engine nearly seized. I had to replace lots of things, including the carburetor. I was struggling. I had been out traveling. I had been out getting a taste of van life, and then suddenly I was back to fighting with my engine again, living in the backyard of this dodgy mechanic, back to being in
New
the city.
cupboard. Who's this?
Very frustrating, but as you can see, I didn't stop working. I kept adding little personalized touches to the inside of the van, continually making it a bit more of my own. But city life was starting to wear thin, escaping as often as I could to the forest, to the back roads, to the logging roads, to wander up off the beaten path. It just makes me happy seeing mystery in little places like this. Oh look, this is another copper kettle iteration 2. And then spring, it was finally time for the salmon berries to come out. When I first moved here, I'd never tried half the berries that are available in BC. Salmon berries, thimbleberries, mulberries, huckleberries, all of which I'd never tried before. So I was off onto a ferry to go slightly further abroad to see where else I could hide my van and explore. What you don't see behind the scenes of van life is sometimes you have to fill up your water tanks from the water spigot at your local cemetery. The van had started to change a little more inside. I built some shelves and a bigger countertop. Again, it's a different copper kettle, and again, I don't know what happened to it. Exploring further afield, harvesting flowers, wildflowers, lavender, and tansy. Tansy, that's the yellow one. It's just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love being up in the mountains in the middle of the clouds. This was the farthest I took Mystery. It was about an 8-hour drive across one of BC's biggest mountain ranges, and we made it. We got all the way to the top. The engine did get quite hot, and ended up at a beautiful festival with some people who have some very fun senses of humor, as you can see here. Again, stopping to see and observe the beauty of the world around me is just the most incredible experience. And sometimes at a festival it takes you in further into a reality that is unreal but beautiful and mysterious. Oh, it was so nice to finally be in summer. I could wear no shoes on, take the van, leave the door open. You can see that my shelving situation has developed a bit more. I was having the time of my life. Van life was starting to look up. I had fixed the majority of the engine issues. We rebuilt the entire engine. We rebuilt the differential. We rebuilt the carburetor. Put new brakes on, new suspension. That van taught me so much and put me through absolute hell to get to this place.
New cupboard. Who's this? Plums, berries, flowers, just a little bit.
Yeah.
What the hell is that? Oh.
Perhaps there's...
It's a bit of traffic in Salt Spring. A bit of traffic. Come on. Move. Move it. Thanks, mate.
Hey, Frank.
Frank, you want to go to the beach? You're on one. Can you hear my bells and stuff jangling? I mean, the road is fine. It's just narrow. I'll send you these pictures if you want.
Also during this period of time, I got a few extra tattoos. Coming home to my body to kind of decorate the parts of my body I didn't used to love. The reason I get tattoos to roll around in the proverbial crayon box to help me fall back in love with the body that society has programmed us to dislike.
Plums, berries, flowers, just a little bit.
Yeah. hamsters. Salt Spring. A bit of traffic. Come on. Move. Move it. Thanks, mate.
That beach might be facing the right way. Oh, you're having the best time today. But yeah, we came here just to chew on this stick. Should be good if you need.
Hey, Frank.
Frank, do you want to go to the beach? You're on one.
Can you hear my bells and stuff jangling? I mean, the road is fine. It's just narrow. I'll send you these pictures if you want. At this point, the van was a good home, but stuff was starting to feel a bit rickety because I had not built it very well. And so it was getting close to a point in time where I wanted to start rebuilding some of the interior of the van. First thing was, I didn't have a sink. Not having a sink, not having a place to wash dishes, after a year or two had started to weigh heavily on me. Rebuilding the bed platform to make it less rickety, having more places to store food, preserves, became very important to me. So after getting through another winter, it became time to decide about looking of how I would rebuild the interior of the van. I'd upgraded to a better mattress by this point, so the bed was comfortable finally. This van is a home that I was very proud of. Proud to share with my friends. Proud, at this point, to do my first van tour, which was very different to how it looked in my van rebuild. And working remotely started to become more of a thing that I worked on doing. At this point, I got a visit from our friend Amanda. Amanda came to visit me and we had a wild time. It was the first time I ever met Frank, which is now, I think maybe three years ago, maybe 4. We did lots of wandering in the forest, our favorite places, looking for sunsets and just spending time observing and appreciating the natural beauty of the world around us. We found some sea asparagus and I preserved some. It's a beautiful salty addition to any meal. Mystery, my beautiful home. I miss you dearly. And then rebuild number 3. I had found some moisture had been leaking underneath the floor, so I ripped it all up and was determined to redo, reseal, and re-insulate the floor better than I had before. More insulation, better flooring. Very happy that I did this, but boy was it a lot of work. In fact, the whole van became an empty shell again. What a shock to the system. I had help with this build, and boy, I couldn't have done it without your help. Thank you so much. This looks beautiful. It was solid, sturdy, nothing was going anywhere. And I finally invested in some batteries, so I had more of a power system, a better cooking surface. My stove looked beautiful where it was. Everything started to feel a bit more polished, a bit better made, a little more personalized, a little bit more sturdy, rugged, and not about to fall down and destroy itself the moment I decided to drive up a big bumpy dirt road. Putting some better structure in, learning how to make boxes and drawers, having a proper table for my computer to work. More storage for food. Ways to display my bits and pieces in ways that felt beautiful and brought joy when I looked at them. Being able to share my space with friends, invite somebody over for dinner, started to become more of a priority and something I was excited about. This case, a fur friend, this cutie. This is the iteration that the van is in today as she moves on to her new home. Mystery is leaving me. I now have a new home, a new bigger home with all my skills that I learnt with my journey. Mystery and I together. She has left a big mark on my heart. I have her name tattooed on my leg. I am not the same person I was before I became homeless and moved into a van. Van life changed me forever. I cannot go back. I am a new person. I love this so much, and I hope you do too. My last drive in Mystery. No. Mystery's going to new home today. I'm sad. I've done lots of crying. Look, she's so empty. She's treated me so well. Now it's time for her to move on to a new life. I'm so sad. It's bittersweet.